2020, just as officials in Wayne County, Michigan, were about to certify the vote in that year's presidential election, two of that county's election officials, both of them Republicans, got a surprise call from the President of the United States, Donald Trump himself, and the then chair of the Republican Party, Ronna McDaniel, called them personally. According to the Detroit News, Trump and Ms. McDaniel then told those two county election officials they needed essentially to take back their vote to certify the election results. And those two county officials did actually try to take back their vote to certify. Then when it was time to certify the elections at the state level, Republicans in Michigan again tried to block the vote total from being certified. It was only after one very brave Republican election official broke with his fellow Republicans that Michigan's state results were finally able to be made official. Republicans pioneered this in Michigan in 2020. Now Republicans have kept trying this kind of thing in every election since, including in congressional elections. In the primaries in the 2022 midterms, Republicans in at least 10 counties refused to certify the vote. In the general election in the midterms that year, county-level Republicans in Pennsylvania and in Arizona tried to block the certification of the results. This year, Republican elections officials in multiple jurisdictions have refused to certify lawful elections repeatedly. And now they're laying the foundation to do it again for the next national election. Over the weekend, Donald Trump held a rally in Atlanta where he randomly shouted out by name three members of the Georgia State Board of Elections. Those three officials have all refused to acknowledge that Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election. They are now trying to push through new rules that would make it easier for county-level officials to refuse to certify election results. This seems to be part of a unified strategy. Encourage Republican elections officials at every level to refuse to certify the elections, no matter what the results are. Doesn't matter where. Doesn't matter if it's a county that Democrats won or a county that Republicans won. Refusing to certify the election at the local level just sticks a wrench in the works, right? It makes it impossible to certify. If you make it impossible to certify a county, then you make it effectively impossible to certify a state. And then ultimately, that puts the whole tallying of the presidential election result into question. Veteran Democratic elections lawyer Mark Elias writes, quote, "It is worse this election than previous ones because this year the GOP is far more organized. They might have tried to subvert the results in a handful of places in 2020 and 2022, but this year they will try to subvert them all." Setting the stage now for what is to come in November. Joining us now is Mark Elias, who specializes in election litigation, and he's the founder of Democracy Docket. Mr. Elias, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we've been talking about this on and off for months. We've been talking about it pretty intensively for the last few weeks. Let me just ask you as an expert, if not the expert in this field, am I getting any of this wrong or seeing any of this the wrong way around, or am I presenting this in a way that you think basically captures the facts?
I think you captured it entirely correctly. I mean, the fact is that when we talk about who won an election, we're really talking about two things. We're talking about the unofficial results that people get on election night, which is what AP reports, what NBC and MSNBC use to call elections on election night. But then we are really talking about the certified results. And these are the results that are first approved at the polling place and then at the county, and as you point out, then at the state, and then ultimately in presidential elections that choose the electors, and then those certificates from the governor go to the Congress. And Rachel, if you think of it this way, January 6th was the culmination of a certification dispute, which, as you point out, began, among other places, in Michigan at the county level. And when Republicans couldn't achieve what they wanted to at the county level, they went to the state level. When they couldn't achieve that, they launched a fake elector scheme, which was just another way of undermining accurate certification of elections. When they couldn't do that, they launched a series of frivolous lawsuits. And finally, they attempted to block what on January 6th? The certification of the election. So this has been on their radar screen for some time, and it would be on their radar screen for sure in 2024.
We have seen them not just planning to do this for the 2024 election, but trying it out in multiple jurisdictions. You, among others, have pointed out that this is a tactic at the county elections board level that was essentially unheard of before 2020. But now it has happened literally dozens of times, sometimes in very off the radar, like municipal elections, sometimes in primaries, sometimes in general elections. There hasn't yet been another presidential election during which they've tried it. But what have you learned about how this process works, how these essentially concocted controversies can be resolved when they do this stuff at the county level?
Yeah, I mean, look, I have done more recounts and post-election litigation than any other person ever, and I had never seen it before 2020. In 2020, I represented President Biden and the DNC in 60-plus cases. We saw it in Michigan, but before that, I had done recounts for Al Franken in Minnesota for various Senate campaigns, statewide campaigns, and the idea of tinkering with the certification at the local level was just out of bounds. I mean, that is part of the pageantry of democracy. It is what makes us great as a country, that after a hard-fought election, the election officials celebrate the results by certifying these election results, and whatever takes place in court after that takes place after that in court. But, you know, Rachel, we saw in 2022 that they refused to certify the elections in Cochise County, Arizona, and in several places in Pennsylvania. I sued them. We won. The folks in Cochise County subsequently got indicted for it. And you might think that would serve as a deterrent for 2024. But, you know, as Donald Trump proved, the loyalty to his crimes and misdeeds is stronger than people's instinct for self-preservation.
Briefly, Mark, what can people who are concerned about this do to try to make sure it doesn't happen?
Yeah, so we all play a role. So first of all, you know, thank you for calling this out. Lawyers, we go to court, but, you know, making this public is the big part of the battle. And I'd ask every person listening to this to speak out on this. You know, don't stay silent. You know, you all have a town square. You don't all have millions of viewers like Rachel Maddow, but each and every one of you can post on social media. You can attend these canvass board meetings. You can file comments in Georgia before the state election board. In your own counties, you can know who is on these boards and you can attend their meetings. Every citizen has a role to play here. And if we all do that, I am confident that we will defeat these efforts and Kamala Harris will be sworn in as the next president of the United States.
Mark Elias, a lawyer specializing in election litigation, the founder of Democracy Docket. Mark, I have a feeling this is the start of several conversations we're going to have on this. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Keep us apprised, okay?